Like,
What are you
seriously?
No, what are you talking
no,
about?
Shut up. Let me finish. You are the one person that I thought I trusted.
Listen to me.
Celebrity friends, Kim Kardashian, obviously my best friend. I definitely live a different lifestyle than other people.
The whispers started quietly in early 2025. Jonathan Cheban, Kim Kardashian's former best friend, who rebranded himself as the food god, has been making some very interesting new connections. Sources close to the family suggest that Kim has been working behind the scenes, reinforcing NDAs, consulting with her legal team, and strategically controlling the narrative before Jonathan can potentially expose decades worth of Kardashian family secrets. After all, this is a man who was inside their inner circle for over 15 years, present for countless private moments, business dealings, and personal dramas that never made it to the show. And now, as their friendship crumbles and his relevance fades, the question everyone's asking is, what will Jonathan do when he has nothing left to lose? Let's be clear about something. When you've built your entire identity around being Kim Kardashian's best friend, and that friendship ends, you're left with two choices: fade into obscurity quietly or go out with a bang. And based on Jonathan's increasingly desperate behavior, the latter seems more likely. Kim knows this. She's seen it happen before with other former friends and employees. She understands that the best defense is a good offense, which is why she's allegedly been taking preemptive measures to protect her family's reputation. But before we get into the current drama, we need to understand how deeply dysfunctional this friendship has always been, because the warning signs were there from the very beginning, flashing bright red for anyone paying attention. Let's go back to December 2013. Jonathan Cheban decided to apply for a reality show called Millionaire Matchmaker. To get on the show, contestants had to submit an audition video. Now, most normal people would use this opportunity to talk about themselves, their interests, what they're genuinely looking for in a partner, but not Jonathan. He spent the entire audition video bragging about being Kim Kardashian's best friend, not just mentioning it casually, but making it the centerpiece of his entire personality. The camera pans around his New York apartment, and he's going on and on about how it's worth $3.5 million. Then he casually drops that his net worth is probably around $5 million, give or take. He mentions his Bentley, his Florida apartment, and makes absolutely sure to tell everyone watching that he doesn't fly commercial. He's painting this picture of an incredibly luxurious lifestyle, and on the surface, it sounds impressive, until you realize that none of it came from his own accomplishments. Every single thing he's bragging about stems from his association with one person, Kim Kardashian. Then comes the part that should have sent Kim running for the hills. When asked about his celebrity crush, Jonathan doesn't hesitate for even a second. Kim Kardashian. He actually says on camera that he loves her butt. He admits that because of Kim's body, he completely changed the type of women he's attracted to. He used to like models, he explains, but now he needs curvy girls. Models look too plain and stick-figured to him now. He literally can't even look at them anymore because they don't measure up to Kim's physique. Let that sink in for a moment. This man literally rewired his entire sexual preference based on his best friend's body type. That's not normal behavior. That's not friendship. That's obsession. That's crossing boundaries that shouldn't even need to be stated. And it gets even worse because he then explains his dating philosophy. He doesn't do permanent girlfriends, he says, because he needs to be able to jet off to Miami for a week without explaining himself to anyone. So basically, he wants a woman who looks exactly like Kim Kardashian, but who won't demand any actual commitment or emotional availability from him. What a catch, right? This audition video alone should have been a massive red flag for Kim. It should have made her seriously reconsider having this man in her inner circle. But somehow, inexplicably, he stayed there for years after this video surfaced. And that tells us something important about their dynamic. Either Kim never saw the video, which seems unlikely given how public it was, or she saw it and chose to overlook these disturbing revelations because Jonathan served a purpose in her life. The wild part about Jonathan's story is that he didn't just stumble into the Kardashian world by accident. He wasn't some random person who got lucky. Jonathan Cheban was born into serious wealth in New York City and grew up surrounded by famous people. He was childhood friends with Paris and Nikki Hilton, and he's admitted in multiple interviews that he's known them since they were kids. This means he was already plugged into that elite socialite scene way before Kim Kardashian became a household name. Most people believe he met Kim through Paris Hilton back in the early 2000s, when Kim was still working as Paris's assistant and closet organizer. Jonathan saw an opportunity and latched on hard. He worked at various PR firms in the late 90s and mid-2000s, so he knew how to position himself. He knew how to make himself seem indispensable. He understood the game of fame and access. And when keeping up with the Kardashians exploded into a cultural phenomenon, Jonathan made absolutely sure he was always around, always available, always ready to be on camera. But here's what most people don't know about Jonathan's attempts to leverage his Kardashian connection into his own fame. In 2010, he tried to launch his own reality show called The Spin Crowd. It was supposed to follow him and his PR firm employees in New York, giving viewers an inside look at the glamorous world of public relations. And guess who executive produced it? Kim Kardashian herself. But you won't find that credit prominently displayed on her IMDb page because the show was an absolute train wreck that she'd probably rather everyone forget about. There are clips floating around YouTube and they're genuinely hard to watch. In one particularly disturbing scene, Jonathan is screaming at a young female employee named Erica because she showed up to work in casual clothes. He's standing there in the office, surrounded by other employees, publicly humiliating this girl in front of everyone. He tells her she looks like she's dressed for bed, that her outfit is completely disastrous, and that she's clearly not ready for the big leagues of Los Angeles. Another employee tries to defend Erica, suggesting maybe she should get a lawyer, and Jonathan snaps back venomously, asking why she doesn't get a stylist instead. The whole vibe is cruel, uncomfortable, and reveals a deeply toxic work environment. One of his other employees even admits on camera that Jonathan is a complete nightmare to work for, but if you can survive the hell he puts you through, the payoff is supposedly huge. That's the mentality he promotes. Abuse people, break them down emotionally, and maybe they'll come out successful on the other side. It's a disturbing philosophy that shows exactly who Jonathan really is when the cameras aren't focused on his friendship with Kim. The show barely got any attention and quietly disappeared after one season, but it showed exactly who Jonathan really was behind the scenes. And that toxic abusive behavior didn't stay hidden for long. Social media eventually gave everyone a front row seat to Jonathan's public meltdowns, and oh boy, did he deliver content. There are countless screenshots floating around the internet of him going off on random people online. And the pattern is always exactly the same. He attacks their appearance, calls them poor, and reminds them that he's rich and they're nothing. In one Snapchat exchange that went viral, he tells someone, "Poor guy, you'll always be zero. You're literally a worker." The person fires back with a crude joke about Jonathan and Kim, and instead of laughing it off like a secure person would, he goes absolutely nuclear. He says his whole apartment is laughing at the guy, calls him trash, and mocks him for living with his mom. On Twitter, his behavior is even worse. He tagged someone and wrote, "Get a life, you ugly, pathetic-looking piece of trash. You're the spit I walk on." In another tweet, he tells someone, "That's funny, peasant. I own 7 companies. Come be my janitor. I have 50 employees and you own trash." The cruelty is breathtaking, and what makes it even more disturbing is that these aren't calculated PR moves or playful banter. This is genuine rage and insecurity spilling out onto social media for the world to see. But the most disturbing incident involved a woman on Instagram who wasn't even a public figure. It was her birthday and she posted a photo of herself, probably feeling good about herself, celebrating another year of life. Jonathan, for absolutely no reason whatsoever, decided to leave a comment systematically tearing her apart. He wrote, "Of course you wear glasses. Everything's a mess. Get some lips. Worst looking vegan alive. If that's vegan, give me beef." He kept going, calling out her chin, her wrinkles, calling her fat. This is coming from a man whose face is so pumped full of fillers and Botox that he's practically unrecognizable from photos taken just a few years ago. The hypocrisy is absolutely unreal. And this woman wasn't a celebrity. She wasn't someone who signed up for public scrutiny. She was just a regular person posting a birthday photo. And Jonathan felt the need to destroy her confidence for literally no reason except to make himself feel superior. When you look at all these incidents together, a very clear picture forms. This man is deeply insecure, desperate to feel superior to others, and willing to hurt anyone to make himself feel better. And these are just the public incidents we know about. Imagine what he's like in private. Imagine what he might know about the Kardashians behind closed doors. That's what should terrify Kim right now. Now let's talk about Larsa Pippen, because she's a huge part of why this friendship between Kim and Jonathan ultimately fell apart. Larsa used to be extremely close with the entire Kardashian family. There are old clips from Keeping Up with the Kardashians where she's running around with Kim and Kourtney, pulling pranks, stealing people's clothes from the pool, and just being part of the inner circle. She was trusted, included in everything, treated like family. But in April 2020, something dramatic shifted. Kim and all of her sisters unfollowed Larsa on Instagram at exactly the same time. No explanation, no public statement, no warning. Just a cold, coordinated digital cutoff that sent the internet into speculation overdrive. Months later, Larsa finally spoke about it in an interview, and she blamed Kanye West. She said that if Kanye felt like he and Kim were better off without her in their lives, then she would accept that decision and move on with grace. And honestly, knowing Kanye's well-documented history of controlling Kim's friendships and social circle, that theory makes perfect sense. But here's where it directly connects to Jonathan's situation. If Kanye convinced Kim that Larsa was bad energy and needed to be completely cut off, it's very likely he did the exact same thing with Jonathan. Kanye has always been obsessed with image, with optics, with cutting out anyone who doesn't elevate the brand. And Jonathan, with his increasingly cringeworthy food god persona and embarrassing public behavior, definitely wasn't helping the Kardashian image anymore. So when Kim distanced herself from Larsa, Jonathan's close friendship with Larsa became a serious problem. Guilt by association. And sure enough, around the same time Kim unfollowed Larsa, Jonathan started noticeably fading from Kim's social media too. The photos together became less frequent. The comments stopped. The public appearances dried up. The writing was on the wall for anyone paying attention. The friendship that built Jonathan's entire identity was crumbling, and he had to feel it happening in real time. Where does that leave us now? Kim Kardashian has clearly moved on with her life. She's surrounded by new friends, completely focused on her children, her law career, and her business empire. Jonathan, on the other hand, is still desperately trying to convince people he's relevant, that he's successful, that he's more than just Kim's former sidekick. But the evidence tells a completely different story. They don't appear together anymore. They don't talk about anything meaningful. And all signs point to a friendship that's functionally over, held together only by the thinnest thread of social media, politeness, and almost certainly a very legally binding non-disclosure agreement. And that NDA is probably the only thing standing between the Kardashians and potential disaster, because Jonathan knows things. He was there for everything. And as his relevance fades and his desperation grows, Kim has to be wondering, what will he do next?